You're listening to Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran Podcast.
Now introducing your host of Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran, the one-man show, Brian Roof.
What's going on, friends and family? How are you guys doing today? Hope you guys have an amazing day. Hope it's not getting the best of you. I can't wait for another great interview. This guy is he's definitely no stranger to the show, no stranger to me. I consider him a really good friend, a brother, a co-host. You name it, colleague. I mean, we've done a lot together, and I got to go meet him in person in Nebraska at Hero Stock. But I won't keep him waiting much more. He's got a lot going on. This guy wears a lot of different hats, so we're going to cover all the great things he's doing and has done. He's an Army veteran as well. But let's go ahead and have Donald Dunn come on in.
Hey, man. Welcome.
What's up, brother? How we doing, man?
I'm doing good, man.
Glad to have you on for a second time, dude. We've had you on before, and last time we had you on, you talked all about your Army experiences. We dipped and dived into a little bit of what you had going on, but bro, you didn't stop there, and you kept on going and creating more great things. But let's go ahead and talk about all the great things you got going on, brother.
All right, yeah, man. There's been a few changes since our last time we was talking, man.
Absolutely.
So, why don't we start at the top? I reckon we'll start with the nonprofit that we're building called Heroes Voice Media Foundation. The idea behind this is not so much that we believe that media is therapy, right? But we do believe therapy comes with talking, and that is a big part of media. So we have designed programs to help veterans continue to keep doing what they're doing: podcasting, writing, singing, songwriting, broadcasting. I mean, it all comes into the fact that they're getting to document their story. They're getting some stuff off their chest. And we know that they're safe because they're doing the show. You see them, they're active. And the result, if they weren't doing this, is probably isolation and depression. And, it's no secret. Anybody that's seen my show or seen me on some of the other podcasts, man, I found therapy in podcasting.
100%. Yeah, same here.
And when I say that, it's because podcasting surrounded me with like-minded people. It got me to open up and tell stories and forget that I was even being recorded, forget that I was even on a live stream, and just having a conversation. And when I noticed that was helping, man, I wanted more of it. I didn't want to stop. And that's what we want others to get. We want them to get that same thing. For me, it led into a support group with the Warriors Way mindset. It led into all sorts of neat guests that end up inspiring me to improve and create this nonprofit. So let's talk a little bit about the programs, right, of Heroes Voice Media Foundation. We'll start with the first program that we had, which was Gunroom Radio, right? That program actually came out before the actual nonprofit. That was inspired through the podcast. And when I did it, I didn't know what it was going to become. I really didn't. I just wanted to help and spread the word and spread the music of these guys that were busting their ass to just try to get some plays. As a podcaster yourself, I'm sure you understand how hard it is to get anybody to take notice of you. I mean, it's a big ocean out there.
Right.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
my thought was by creating a radio station, making it for veterans only, we could reduce it from the ocean to a pond, and a lot more fish would get noticed. And that's what I wanted to do. And so we started Gunroom Radio. It turned into 3 different radio stations. We've got Simplify country, we've got vet mix, and we got Ranger rock wave. So we've got a little bit for everybody. On top of that, we're slowly integrating veterans to come in and DJ and get them into some broadcasting, which is again another way to keep veterans talking, keep them around us, like-minded people, and make sure that everybody's doing the best that they can do. Um, so that led into the nonprofit because we realized there's a lot more forms of media out there besides music that is helping people. Um, so from there, we started MUPS. A good friend of mine came up with that idea. His name is Brian Roof. And, he wanted to create something for podcasting. And so we did it. We now got a program that's helping people podcast. You've expanded that to a place where people can put equipment up there to help people that are having a hard time affording the gear to do it. That inspired me to look into making a Roku channel to help put the podcasters on. So together, man, that's just another form of media that both of us was passionate about because we both were getting therapy out of podcasting. And then I went one step further, and we now have a program called Words from Warriors, and it's for our authors, bloggers, um, article writers, people that are actually out there trying to put their stories on paper. And that's led into a magazine that they're going to be writing for called the Warrior Scroll. It's also a way to help us fund some of these projects. Unfortunately, all these projects do take money, and to keep them going, we do have to feed them, and that's one way that we're going to do it. The Warrior Scroll comes out quarterly. It's going to start out digitally. It will expand to a print version as well. And once we get to that point, the sky's the limit, man. It's $8 a magazine or $25 a year. So,
Not bad.
for less than a meal at McDonald's, man, you're helping keep veterans going. And it's also a way to stay in the know. That magazine is going to have some great articles wrote by some great veterans that have all already published books. They've all got incredible stories to tell. I'm already seeing some of the articles that they're going to put forward, and I'm excited to see what that magazine is going to be for the first one. It comes out in June.
That's outstanding.
Yeah, man. So a lot of good stuff is happening in the veteran community.
Also got this going on too, right?
Yep. So that is our monthly newsletter. It kind of helps keep everybody up to date with some of the blog posts and writings that the authors are doing, some upcoming events that are coming up in areas that they're in. It also has different new releases, like my new book that's out there. Any of the authors they've got some new books that are coming out, so they will be showing up in there as well.
Love it.
Again, it talks about each of our programs and a place that you can find each of this stuff. And it's a free newsletter. It doesn't cost anything. All you got to do is go to wordsfromwarriors.org and just put your email address in, and you'll get it once a month. So you're not going to get spammed with a whole bunch of advertisements. You're just going to get one email a month, and anything that I feel important that's part of the veteran community is going to be in there.
That's outstanding. I love it, man. I mean, the great thing about it is, bro, you're giving veterans a place to showcase themselves, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I think the veteran world is lacking there for the veterans, especially. A lot of us serve our country. Some do it for a career, do 20 years,
Yeah.
and don't have a whole bunch of time to go invest and put themselves in front of these audiences or things of that nature.
Right.
So this right here, as it just gives them that extra layer of being able to be noticed, and I love it because, like I said, we are lacking that in the veteran world.
Yeah, I mean, so when I started looking at this, man, and when I started podcasting, I'm sure you notice it. And I'm not talking bad, so I don't want anybody to say, "Hey, Don's talking crap." But there is a lot of 501(c)s out there to help with PTSD and mental health, and they're all doing that stuff better than I could ever do it.
Right.
So I didn't want to fall into that category. But what I didn't see was a whole lot of people that was celebrating the wins. I mean, the struggle to go from this on one side through it and come out on the other side should be celebrated as well. And
Absolutely.
the best way to do that is to help some of these people that are trying to go back and recreate their dreams that they put on hold for this country to be able to do it, you know, whether it be singing, podcasting, story writing, whatever. I mean, if I had the brains, I'd help you be a lawyer if that's what you wanted to do. But for me, it's to celebrate the fact that you went through those struggles and you're now past them, and we can help work on the new you and help you get to where you want to be. Whether you want to just occasionally release a song on Spotify or if you want to be in front of an auditorium filled with 10,000 people, whatever that is, and whatever I can do to help you get there, I'm all about it, man.
And I can tell you, man, from firsthand experience, because when I first met you, I found out about Gunroom Radio and that you were putting podcasts on there. I
Yeah.
was eager as hell, man. Like, oh man, I want to try to get my podcast on there, and when it got on there and I can hear myself on an app, I was just, that was elating for me, bro. Cause here I am just starting off trying to get myself out there. And I had an opportunity to get myself put out there,
Yeah.
and it was just another a form of being able to be listened to, but this was through a veteran community. And for me, it did a lot of, helping me and making me feel good about what I was doing.
Nice.
So that I can attest to for myself because when I first came in and met Donald, Donald was a solo ranger, man, just marching on his own, um, and started seeking and asking for help. And I was like, you know what, man, I got you. Let's go ahead and I'll do what I can and
Yeah.
give you what I can. So I started DJing, and once again, grew up wanting to be a radio DJ, right? And of course, life caught up to me, and it just never took me down that course of
Yeah.
being a radio DJ. Here I am in my 40s and I get this opportunity, and let me tell you, having your own show, it is fun, man. It is a lot of fun. And even though there was times I was talking to myself probably, it was great. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed having that opportunity just to talk out to the world.
Yeah.
It was really great.
Yeah, there's a couple important things that you said. One, the one of the best days of this whole project has been when you said, "Yes, I'll help you," because I'm not gonna lie, man, I was getting tired, and it was growing so fast that I couldn't keep up with it, man. Um,
Right.
and so to have people that are passionate about that mission as well, means a lot. It means the world to me. Um, and we're slowly growing those numbers. Brandon Cooper is also DJing now. I had him take over the rock station, so I think he's going to be a great addition at some point. To helping what me and you are doing, and
Absolutely.
both of us have big goals. Both of us want to see some veteran podcasting categories made, not
Mhm.
just in one or two places, but like on Apple and Spotify. We want to see the VMAs out there, the podcasting awards out there. I mean, we want veterans celebrated, not just given a day and having everybody line up and say thank you. We want our accomplishments to be celebrated, you know?
100%. Give it, the opportunity like everybody else has, and I gotta say the Roku TV channel is a great start, and it is a hard thing to get advertised, but I think that once that thing really takes off, man, it really has great potential, right? Because
Mhm.
within Roku channel, you're not only seeing there's podcast shows out there, but he's added we got video music from veterans,
Yep.
and then we
MLK.
also have comedy,
Yeah.
which I mean, like I said, there's a forum for each of these groups in the veteran area. We just don't have anywhere that showcases it so much, right?
Yeah.
We're all getting drowned out by the people that got the big bucks.
Yeah. And not just that, there's also a lot of places, there's a lot of artists. I've had a lot of artists that just came to me and said, hey, you know, I don't feel comfortable using the V word. I don't want people to like my music because I'm a veteran or whatever, you know. So it is also cool that they can kind of hide in those shadows and be on the station, and the rest of the people know this is a veteran ran place, but they're there because they like the music. You don't have to be a veteran here. This is about you, not what you did. Um, you've earned the right to have a hand, and kind of put you in the front of that line of getting noticed versus having to fight algorithms and pay companies that have the secrets to get you 1,000 and millions of views. You know, um, bringing you back into the community where you have lifelines when you're not performing. That's huge. Um, Not only do I have some big intentions, like we talked about with the VMA and the podcasting awards, but I plan on the Words from Warriors program is going to be we're going to be doing some book signings. I'm going to find some places that will volunteer and centrally located so that we can all make it a meetup and do some book signings for the authors. I want to do some sort of dinner with all the podcasters, you know, um, and just celebrate being a veteran and the art that we enjoy doing.
Yeah,
So
that'd
I
be a lot of
2025.
those things are awesome, man.
Yeah.
And I know the big thing about Donald, you dream big, but you're all about making dreams come reality, bro. You know what I mean? And you're a workhorse at it. Like you got 5 different websites running right now, at least. That's a bare minimum.
Yeah.
Radio station going on, podcast going on. I mean, a little busy. You know what I mean? And but the thing is, these things, especially, man, once it's everything is come and done and we can look back at it, it's like I think this is a pioneer of a start of something that we don't have, right?
Yeah.
And I love it, man. You're like I said, there's iterations of things that we got going on, but there's nothing like what we're doing.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And we was talking about the Roku channel. Something I think that is really neat is the Roku channel is growing without advertisement.
Wow,
It's
that's
all
great.
all organic. It's up to almost 40 subscribers, downloads,
Wow.
whatever you want to call it.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and every once in a while I go back and I check, and a few more will grow here, a few more will grow here, and there's probably an average of 7 to 8 new people that come on for every one uninstall. So I think it's obvious that the people are liking, um, especially when you start looking at how long people are streaming it. Um, it's a good indicator that people are enjoying what we're doing, and I like that, man. That makes me feel good that there's people that care enough that they watch some of these shows, and you know, man, who knows? Maybe one day somebody will need to have somebody for a speaking event, and one of the podcasters off there may get asked sometime to speak for uh, a 9/11 memorial, or a VFW event or something, and I think that would be amazing, to link somebody up. We do it all the time. You know that as well as I do. We do it all the time for the radio, on the radio side. Bands that are getting noticed and highlighted, and um, the Zach Brown Hero Week is coming up, and behind the scenes, there's been a lot of talking of who all is going to get some invites. I'm not going to spill the beans on that one, but um, I think it's amazing to see some of these artists get noticed from their voice being put on the radio station. It's Man, it isn't about us, it's about seeing these veterans live out some of their dreams, to wherever it takes them, however big they want to be and however much work they want to put into it. Because there is still a lot of work that they have to do. We give them that helping hand, but the rest of it's on them.
It's crazy. Once you start the journey, you don't really realize or even know where the journey is going to take you when you get
Yeah.
on this bus, right? The podcasting or
Yep.
anything. It's a weird deal, bro. Like you just decide one day, you know what, I'm gonna take these keys, I'm gonna go take this thing for a spin. And then you don't realize where you're gonna go with it, right?
Yeah.
I had no clue how much I was going to sincerely enjoy this. I'm up to like freaking, I think I have 3 podcast shows, right? I don't really talk about them all that much, but I do have a couple because I've really gotten to the level of one is very therapeutic for me and I've taken a liking to it,
Yeah.
and is my growth, crazy? No, it's really not. I'm not like growing at any warp speed whatsoever, but I'm growing at a very organic speed that I'm comfortable with and that I feel that I'm capturing actual people that want to come back and listen or hear my podcast again.
Yeah.
And that part it starts to fuel you, once you start to realize that people like what you're saying or what you got going on and they're tuning in, they're listening, they're following your stuff and or they'll shoot you a message from even sometimes like, hey man, I really like what you got going on. You just keep
Yeah.
doing it, and even sometimes, it's crazy. On the journey, you'll have a lot of self-doubt. I've doubted myself. I've gone in the pits where I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I really should be doing this anymore. And then I'll get this crazy message, or I'll get something that's just like, oh man, I think you're in the right seat.
Yeah.
It's just this type of game is more of a it's not a race, it's more of a how long can you stay in it for, right? And I think the longer that people see that you show up and you're consistent, the more that all of a sudden it just starts coming to you, right? I mean, that's kind of the way I've seen it for me.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There was a lot to what you just said.
Yeah,
Part of it being the fan growth side, with being consistent and giving the fans quality content, because they're giving you something way more valuable than what you're putting out. That's their time.
right. Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Yep.
whether they're in a car, there's probably a gazillion channels that they could choose from between all the streaming apps and radio stations out there. But for them to get in their car and drive an hour to work and give you that full hour, man, that's way more valuable than anything that any of us is doing. The other part of what you said is it is tough to do this. It is not easy, and that is why so many podcasts fail. They don't even make it to their 50th episode before they just run out of content. And when you're already dealing with stuff mentally, just like you said, there's a lot of days where you're just like, I do not feel like podcasting today. But I can tell you, I have said that probably 100 times. And 100 times after I got done with that episode that I forced myself to sit down and do, 10 minutes into it, all that was gone. And I was having a great time again.
Right.
So there's there's a lot when I say I like to see, I like to celebrate veterans wins, right? I don't say I like to see celebrating veterans playing on the Grand Ole Opry, or I don't say I want to see veterans become the next Joe Rogan, because for me, a win is when you find yourself doing something that you are fulfilled doing. That's a win. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not about. It's about you getting to where you want to be. And for some people, that is just podcasting and meeting new people and not caring whether they have 10 views or 10 million views. Um, Other people, maybe it is that Grand Ole Opry and auditorium. Each person has a different a view of what they call success or fulfillment.
Yep.
And that's why I always use the word, I like to celebrate their wins, because the first win starts with coming out the other side, um, and putting in the work and dealing with the demons and stuff that you're going through. There's your first win once you've started that process to do that. Because trust me, it's not easy. I've been there, and that was partially where my book came from. Was me dealing with some of those things, and so I think it's important to keep expectations at bay,
Yep.
and for each person, figure out what it is that they want and help them do what they want, not decide what you want them to be. You know, this isn't a production company where we're trying to profit off of your success. So we want to force feed you to be successful. Success is, where do you want to be?
Yep.
And when you're at that
How does it
level,
look to you? How does it look to you? Right. I mean,
that's it. It's your
how do
story.
you measure it?
Yep.
That's 100% right, man. I mean, and that's just it. We need to start celebrating wins, no matter if they're small wins or huge wins. Just like you said, celebrate the fact that you just decided to do something,
Yeah. You're
right?
not
Like
isolated.
that's a win for itself. You thought about doing something, and you work towards a goal and try to do stuff. I think that when I set out to do things, I typically, if I like it, my goal is to always improve it and make it better and
Yep.
try to improve something, whether it just be my backdrop, me trying to reach out to certain guests, or looking to add myself to a different place to you can listen to it on. There's just different milestones and goals that eventually, when you get into it and you really enjoy it, you gotta. That's part of the growth is and the journey is me, at least the way I am. I just want to try to, and however it looks to me, but have it the best that it could be, right?
No,
And
that's
that
the funny thing.
way that I'm giving myself a chance of, at least that way too. Because if you start off and you have horrible quality in terms of just a microphone,
Yep.
people might not listen to you. So, just those kind of little things. But I one thing that I really love about the things that we're creating, and when it even comes to MUPs in particular, it's giving us that avenue now as in building a network of podcasters,
Yep.
and we can go through the things that we struggle with. Um, we have a little bit more of a network, and gives us a better chance than when a lot of us started, right? Like I started, I had no one to fall back on. I didn't know anybody, but this podcast has put me in touch with so many people, even brought me back in touch with like my cousins, and stuff like them tuning in and watching and like cheering me on and loving what I do, even though they're not veterans, right? And a lot of my show typically primarily focuses on the veteran area, but they still, because they love me and they want to cheer me on, they're there for support, right?
Yeah.
So those things, it's opened my eye to a place that I was kind of moving away from and starting to push myself even further away from.
Yeah.
podcasting, I thought it has brought me back and is bringing me to a different level, and my mission starts to change and improve as we go on, right?
Yep.
And I start to think, well, I want to start doing this now. I want to help here. I want to help this, or I want to try to do that. It's just crazy, the journey, bro. The journey that you go on and don't even realize where it's about to take you.
I think that's the important part for the veterans is um, you have to have a purpose, you know,
Yep.
and a lot of us when we're struggling and dealing with depression, you don't have that. There is no purpose, man. I got out of the military and owned a trucking company and was miserable. I still thought I was a piece of shit. You know, here I am with a trucking company that's making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and I'm not happy, man. You know, when I finally got help, I didn't have any regrets walking away. And podcasting for me, Heroes Voice Media Foundation has given me a mission back. It has put me on a place where have a purpose. I am somebody again, and I'm helping others.
Right.
And man, if I could afford to completely retire, I would do it and do this full time. You know,
And for me, bro, that's where I've at, right? Like 2018, I went out 100% unemployable. Uh, so I went from a six-figure job
yeah,
to not making six-figure no more. And for a couple of years there, I just was going through life, just going through the swing of it, getting up, taking kids to school, doing, just getting stuck in a rut.
yeah,
And then once I found the podcast, visions, things started changing for me. My wife's like, "Wow, you're on your cell phone a lot more. You're talking to people." I was like, "I actually have some friends now," right? You know what I mean? Or people that I care about and and genuinely want to be in the mission or in the fight with them and stuff like that. Um, if I could donate my life to a lot of it, I would, but it is there's a lot to podcasting a lot of people don't understand, you
yeah. The
know,
behind the scenes stuff.
but right, there's a lot of people that make it look real easy, right? And I don't know if there's been one podcast that I've made it through without tripping on my words or stuttering, or even just forgetting my thought mid thought,
Yep,
and then
I've
trying
been
to
there.
switch it up like, oh shit, I'm in the middle of a camera. But
Yep,
podcasting isn't easy. Putting together nonprofits isn't easy. Putting together organizations, all that stuff, it takes a lot of work, dedication, and I know for you, bro, it's been nonstop, and you also have your own podcast show, which you have recently just changed the name of it. So he was Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room, and then now he's changed it over to Spirits and Stories podcast with Donald Dunn, right?
yep, yep.
Um,
It's Spirits and Stories with Donald Dunn. The website is spiritsandStoriesPodcast.com. And yeah, so I did that for a couple reasons. For your listeners that don't know my show, the old show, that was something that me and my old first sergeant did together, and we filmed it in his gun room, and we both like to drink, and so that's where the name came from. The show itself had absolutely nothing to do with guns or alcohol
right.
or any of that stuff. It was about it. We started it to bring our soldiers that we served with back into the fold. Man, we had a few that had committed suicide, and we just kind of wanted to round up the guys that we served with to make sure that they were doing okay. And that's what that podcast was designed to do, and it did. And then at the end of season one, my first sergeant dropped off, and I kept it Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room for the second season in case he decided to come back. and that turned out to not happen. So I rebranded it. One, I didn't want to continue to waste my time reading all the um, leftist type of messages I was getting. That they,
Yo,
I'm a,
dude.
I'm
Hey,
a huge
being
fan.
an admin for you, I was seeing a lot of those messages coming through. I was just like, man, he's taking some heat for that.
Yeah,
And I know because I've watched your show, I follow you, I know you. So I always knew what it was about. And so every time I would see one of those messages, oh, here we go with another Karen or another
yep.
Ken.
That looked at the name and that's it. They didn't even. I even made a trailer that was
Right.
a minute and a half long, just explaining where the name came from and what the show is about. And that's fine. You
Isn't
know,
it crazy the world that we get into? You got to go through it and explain yourself,
yeah,
like, listen, well, I'm not drunk. We're not talking about guns. I'm just, it's a name, it's a brand.
yeah. I mean, he owned a little business, man, and you guys can see a little bit of the corner. That camouflage one right there. I hydro dipped that myself, and I knew how to do it, and he owned a little gun business, so I helped him on the side, doing guns for customers, and man, it was just enjoyment. I mean, you have to rely on your life experiences, and surprise, surprise, but they give us guns in the military, so I was pretty comfortable with them, you know, and so at the end of the
Weird.
day, um, we have now grown to the point where I had finally admit that the show has got large enough that people are looking at us, and I am tied to the nonprofit, and so I compromised without losing my character of who I am. I came up with a kinder, gentler, friendlier name that is more sponsor appropriate and truthfully better fits the show, because the show
That is
really
true.
is about
Right.
people telling their stories.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I kind of use Joe Rogan a lot as an example to a lot of things, because I'm a fan. I love
And
his
he's
show.
number one podcast in the world. So I mean,
Yeah.
he's something to compare, to take notes from.
Well, yeah, and my thing is he is who he is on and off the air. He didn't
Right.
change.
Yep.
Um, and I think that's a huge part of his success. And I love the flow of the just the conversational type podcast. And so anytime I come across somebody that has a interesting story, I ask them to come on the show. They may have nothing to do with veterans at all. And again, I don't really care how many people watch my show. I enjoy talking to these people and learning a little bit about their show. I haven't, I don't think it's released yet, or it might have just released. But I just had a guy on there that does fire walking, and
Oh wow.
yeah, and dude, I had to have him on. And it turned out he was a veteran too. I didn't even know it when I asked him, but yeah, he was Army,
Oh
and
shit.
so but that he goes around and has a nonprofit called Do No Harm, and puts on um, events to teach people how to do fire walking, and it's more like a confidence boosting
Mm.
course. But man, it was really interesting, you know, and I thought it was really neat, and so I asked him to come on, and he did, So that's how I kind of my show kind of resembles the format of Joe Rogan's, and I guess that's because I enjoy his show so much,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
But
I mean, you've had some really great guests on though, man. I mean, I love watching your show, and I love seeing the different variations. You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
the stories, they could be from one side to the next. You know what I mean? Literally from one episode to the next. That's a part I am starting to enjoy with the variation that you got going on.
So somebody actually commented. They left me a review on Apple, and they
Okay.
said the same thing. I really enjoyed the mix. I watched 2 episodes back to back. One episode was about paranormal. The second one was about dog training.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, there's no
No,
really
and
rhyme, man. It's just, how you fall and if I asked you to come on and what date you plugged it in, and we're gonna do it, man.
well, see, that's another beautiful thing about podcasting, right?
Yeah.
It's your world, bro. You're the artist, so to
Yep.
speak, right? And you get to paint your picture however that may be.
Yeah.
And sometimes we like to take notes from each other or from other podcasts and implement the great things that we do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we all have our own little flavor to it, right?
Yeah.
In our own
Absolutely.
way that we do it. And you could watch a lot of our different podcasts. We could have a lot of the same guest on, but I tell you what, it's going to be two completely different episodes. You may get
Yeah.
some of the same stories, but the way that it's told or the way that things are, acknowledged or something could be
Yeah.
a different way. So, I mean, that's the great thing about podcasting, man, and the other thing is there's people out there that just love stuff, right? And they might just love your stuff. I watch all these crazy TikToks and all this stuff where people are getting paid lots of money, and the person's in there, "Don't donate to me. Do not give me any prizes. Don't like my video." And the people are just sitting there liking it and spamming it. I'm like, and they're making money off of saying, "Don't do that." Right?
Yeah.
So
I'm st I'm still
there's a
heartbroken.
niche for everybody, I almost think, dude, you know?
Yeah. I'm still heartbroken that there is a guy out there with more YouTube subscribers called the Sleeping Streamer, and all he does is turn the
This late.
damn camera on and get in bed and go to sleep. Damn it, man. I'm getting beat by a guy that's comatose.
Right? I know, it's like, it's crazy because I think that even if I was to start that, it would be just me and my surroundings.
Yeah,
Like, no one would be on me, just I'd be getting donuts. So I don't know
yeah,
how there's gotta be a way that they catch these people right off rip. I don't know.
yeah,
Because I've tried to get on to do lives and things of that nature, and it's literally I feel like I'm just staring into a thing, and every once in a while, but hey, what's going on? Like,
yeah,
but other than that, it's uh, some of these people live on there and are making a killing though. It's just crazy.
yeah, and,
But hey, what works
I'm
for
happy
you?
for him if that's their win, man, I'm happy
Absolutely.
for him,
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, it's sometimes I'm partially hating like. But my hating is like, wow, good for them. It's like,
yeah,
wow, how in the hell are they getting paid just to sit there and pick their nose? Like,
yep,
and people are, tipping them as they pick their nose. Like,
yeah,
I won't even talk about some of the really crazy ones I've heard or seen
yeah,
the things that get through. Um, but let's talk a little bit more about um your podcast, what you got going on for your future in terms of where do you see everything going, where you see your podcast going, and how long you been doing the podcasting thing now? About 3 years now?
yep, we are really close to episode 200.
Wow,
I think,
200, bro.
I think not
Damn.
including what I haven't edited. I've still got like 4 or 5 that I have to
In
edit
the
and
bank. Yeah.
yeah, and so I think, I'm at 189 is where we're at.
You're a
Um,
workhorse when it comes to them interviews, bro. You drop
yeah,
them things like it's hot.
I release every Tuesday and Wednesday. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, you could set your alarm clock on it because, at midnight on Tuesday and on midnight on Wednesday, there will be a new episode every week, with a different guest because I am a shitty person to do it by myself. You will not listen to the show, just hear me talk. So,
Yeah, it's rough. That's a rough world, let me tell you.
yeah. So I always have a guest. An average day for me is spent of about, if I had to guess, probably 6 to 7 hours a day just on my phone screen. Um, Between self promotions, nonprofit promotions, and posts. I mean, I use a lot of, man. If there wasn't a lot of tricks out there, like I use Loomly, so I can make one post and send it to all of the pages. Um, I use a lot of those types of things that's going to increase my time. And when I say I am working on this nonstop, I mean, the last thing I do before I go to bed is search on Facebook for musicians, authors, podcasters, people that I've seen are veterans, and send them a message. I do that as I'm falling to sleep. So when I say I literally am working on this until I go to bed, um, I am, and it's because I love it. It's not work, man. Um, if you truly enjoy it and you don't expect to make any money off of it, it's not a job. It's become a passion, and so I think that's the most important part about it is I want to see it successful, and I want to see it grown to its own identity, and that it runs itself. Nobody owns it, and veterans are getting rewarded from it every day. That's what I want to see.
Hell yeah,
You know,
man. And I'm definitely there with you on that mission and trying to see our brothers and sisters be successful, stop them from taking their own lives.
yeah,
Those things are they're all very near and dear to us.
yeah,
And I'm with you, man. I feel like I just become more of a cheerleader in my days, right? Like I feel like the world is getting so ugly and we're so quick to just tear each other down when we're doing good or you see
yeah,
someone doing great.
yeah,
I want to be different. I want to show that positivity. I want to say, "Damn, you're doing a great job. Hey, man, I see you out there. You're
yeah,
killing it." And um because those little things go a long ways, I think a lot of times. And sometimes because I've had my own self-doubt, right? I've walked the world of having self-doubt and doubting myself, feeling that I'm not, you know, I feel like maybe I'm wasting my time, maybe I'm not doing the right thing. And then someone just says that one thing that I needed to hear.
yeah,
So I have that whole saying that, during darkness, let's be light, man. Let's be the light in the world, right? There's enough darkness. Let's be the one that shines light. And I think that's just important. And giving our veterans, our sisters, our brothers, even first responders, an avenue to kind of create their own art. It does a lot, man. It does a lot to you as a human being, right? I mean,
yeah,
and when in a world of chaos and all these things going on, it's kind of nice to have that moment where you can just have those real talks, and you're
yeah,
stuck in this headphone, and the only thing you're hearing is that other person across, in that video. It's
yeah.
kind of a nice thing.
Yeah, I kind of want to back up for a second. I
Yeah.
realized I kind of went on a rant and didn't answer your question, but the my podcast, man. I do got some really cool guests coming up. Um, some people that I'm looking forward to asking some tough questions
Yeah.
with, and I'm still hoping that happens here in the early parts of April. Is what I'm hoping for. But the goal for the show, man, is just to grow and to continue to bring people in that have just unique stories. I don't look for people that they may have a book to promote or something like that, and I'm all about stuff like that. But I avoid people that are trying to just sell something. I don't want people that are selling services and I'm going to be your coach, and if you follow my strategies for 1999, that's not what I want.
But wait, if you buy right now, we'll give you a free one.
Yeah, and those shows don't make my airing. So if you go to my website, you'll see there's a form for them to fill out, and I ask those questions because you're not going to make it on the show if you're selling something. If you want to talk about your trials and tribunes and your wins, and then mention that what you do for a living comes from that, I'm perfectly fine with that. But when that becomes the show, and every other word you're picking up your book, you know, then
Yeah.
your show's not going to make it, man. I'm sorry. This is about stories, man. This is about. I picture sitting at a bar stool and people just talking or sitting at guard duty and trying to pass the time.
What are you talking about, man? Look behind you. That's a perfect. I mean, that is perfect for what you got going on. Just sitting around the fire and little
Yeah,
bourbon on the desk, dude.
I love that. I love the new logo, man. I
Oh,
do.
I do too. I love it, brother. And that sign behind you just lights up nice too.
Yeah,
That's not even doing anything crazy.
yeah, man. I got to give it to the Chinese, man. They did an amazing job.
Yeah, but you know what? They can't do TikTok, but they can give us everything else.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll figure a loophole around that too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Only half of America uses it, so we'll
Yeah,
see how that all fares out. But yeah, anyways, back to your podcast, man.
but yeah, that's where the show's heading. Season 4 will be um, a lot of I'm hoping some bigger guests. Um, I kind of would really like to there's a season that I'll have one day, and I'm very passionate about this. As a matter of fact, there'll be an article in this magazine about it. Um, Operation Red Wing, man, is very sensitive to me, and there was a lot of things that came from that operation, and I want to at some point be able to line up enough guests to where I can have a season just about the different operations that happened in Afghanistan and have guests on that were in those operations.
Mm.
And so there's a lot to put together with that. A
You can
lot
make
of
a series out of that.
yeah, absolutely, man. A lot of people don't know. There was like 9 actual operations, official operations that happened in Afghanistan, and each one had a different purpose and worked with different people, and some were successful, some were not, and there's a lot to learn about it. And even if you go to Wikipedia, man, you can't find all of them. Some of them were very small, 1 or 2 day events um, that you just can't find information about. And like anybody who knows me, the biggest thing that we're doing here is we're documenting our war. You know, in my generation, I have seen that history, just wrote in history books, does not mean anything. Statues being torn down, bases being renamed, stuff being ripped out of the school books and reworded and rechanged and all that stuff. And look, at the end of the day, I'm perfectly fine with that if what is in there is not factual. You know, what I don't want is 40 years from now, somebody who has never served in the military telling my story. And
Right.
that is what is I'm very passionate about with what we're doing, is the fact that as people are healing, they are also documenting their portion of what they did in a history's longest war. 20 years. People were coming in at basic training and retiring and still fighting the same war. And if that is not a story that's worth documenting, then I'm sorry, man. You're just not in tuned into things that you need to know about.
And you know what, man? Another thing with these podcasts, right? They're giving us these opportunities to bring out stories that we don't typically get to hear. The movies
Right.
only cover certain stories and then they put their own spin on it, Hollywood ways, and that nature. But like the thing about it is it's giving an opportunity to capture things that we haven't. I mean, there's guys as far back as World War II that are still alive that are getting on some of these podcasts and are starting to tell their stories. So we're getting that first in in the front line type of stories,
Yeah.
which we don't get that often. So that's another great element that's kind of nice about these podcasts. And it's not even just veteran stories, right? It's just
No.
people with amazing stories because
Yeah.
everybody that has been born and you've lived life, you got stories. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
don't care where you grew up, how you grew up. You got stories. We all do.
This month I have had a Vietnam veteran that is Asian come in and tell his story.
I did watch that. It was a great episode. Great interview.
And then I also had a guy that is the subject matter expert of a airplane crash from a rugby team.
Alive. Yeah.
Yeah, from
That movie Alive.
1972.
Yeah.
You know, um, I've had the executive producer of Street Outlaws and um, Street Outlaws and The Ultimate Fighter on the show. I had a
Yeah,
guy
man.
that I had a guy that did security for Mike Tyson and Dennis Rodman. You know, not all these people were veterans, but they all had stories, man,
Absolutely.
that needed to be shared and told.
And some great stories. I mean, especially the one from the Vietnam guest. That
Yeah,
dude, his story was great and very detailed.
yeah,
He went into some things that I wasn't even really aware of and shed some light on some things for me. So, I mean, that's one thing I do love. Like you, I do watch the Joe Rogan shows and stuff like that.
yeah. Sean Ryan.
Because there's guys on there that I like and I know, and I'm like, oh man, I would love to hear him. Like he had Kevin James on. I'm a big Kevin James fan, so it was great. And he did like almost a 3 hour show with him,
Yeah,
Um, but it's just great getting to have these conversations and sit down and get a little bit of an insight on things that you don't typically get insight on.
yeah. No, you're
You
you're
know,
you're absolutely right, man. And the other thing too, when you keep the show relaxed, man, people put their guard down.
yep,
All my guests start out like,
yeah,
and by
right,
the end of
yeah,
the show, they're sitting back in their chair, and it's just literally a conversation that we're having, man. Sitting at a bar, having a
absolutely,
few drinks, and
yep.
I think that's amazing.
It's the greatest part about it, man. I do love the conversations, and it's just therapy. You know, uh,
Yeah,
Having conversations is very therapeutic. And sometimes hearing someone else go through some shit, and you're like, oh man, I'm not the only one going through that, right? And so that's the other part is it just sheds a lot of light on different things. Um, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about another thing that you got going on, bro, and that's your book.
yeah, man.
Let's talk about this. I love the
So
cover, by the way. That's badass.
that is all, and I put her name in there. My illustrator, Miss Ashley Johns.
Man,
She
she did a
manages,
great job, bro.
yeah, she manages a couple of my web pages as well. She's the one that does the Gunroom Radio web page, which is one of my favorite pages. Man, it is amazing. But yeah, so this book, man, you know, the last 18 months of my life, I have been trying to find myself. Um, I have been going through some things, and I've gotten to the point now where um, there's still things I need to work on. My temper is one of them.
Mm,
I still have ups and downs like everybody else. You know, those days of self doubt. There's days that I have to tell myself, "Shut the hell up," because I'm just putting myself in one of those moods. And part of that was I owed my family an explanation. Um, my wife has been with me since seventh grade. We're still married today, even though I'm in Missouri and she's in Georgia. Um, my kids seen a happy-go-lucky guy that enjoyed being with his family to a guy that had no life left in him and would eat dinner and go straight to the bedroom for the rest of the night and not talk to anybody. And my wife didn't even sleep in the same bed with me for 2 years because she was waking up with black eyes and knots on her forehead from me throwing my arms all around and yelling and shit like that. And she would ask me what was wrong. She would see me sitting along the side of the bed, and I just tell her a bad dream. And she'd ask me what it was about. And I would tell her I don't remember, which was a lie. And it got to the point, man. I will give you an idea of how my depression, how low I got. When I was driving truck, there was several times that I could have made it home for the weekend, but I stopped 40 miles short and spent the weekend there because my anxiety was so high about coming home that I didn't want to go home. And so I'd sleep at a truck stop 40 miles away. One night I slept in the same town and went home the next day. And it had nothing to do with my family. It was all me. But I didn't know it at the time. And after I found the Warrior's Way, and well, before that as well, I knew if I'm going to get off this medication, that I have to deal with those things that I screwed up in my life. The trucking company put us in financial ruins. Um, the divide between my family and me, not just my wife, but the kids and everybody. And not one time did I ever give them an explanation of what happened. And so that first portion that I sent to you, and there were some things in there that, I did not put in the book, but they were in there for my family. And that's what that book was, man. That was me explaining to my kids and my wife what I was going through. It was not I'm asking for you to forgive me. I am giving you the explanation without having it in a conversational format so that I can put my feelings and my word choices on paper and let you read it. And after my daughter read it, she told me I needed to publish it. And now you're talking about a guy that when we were in junior high, my wife used to hand my notes back to me with red writing all over them. And she would not respond to the note until I corrected everything. Right. My wife enjoyed school. I did not. And so to see that I actually published a book, I'm not going to lie, man. I'm kind of proud that I accomplished it.
Hey, man, it's a win, brother.
Yeah.
It's a you gotta celebrate that, man. It's a win for you, bro.
So
You actually, I mean, and I know a little bit of your struggle with even writing the book, right? And I think you had that tug of war of whether you really wanted to publish it, not publish it.
yep.
Um, so I mean, to see you go full circle with it now and actually getting ready to publish it out, bro, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, that freaking the cover right there is badass.
Yeah.
She
I
did a
like
great
it.
job. Yeah, she did an
My
amazing job.
my goal from this book is hope in hopes. At the end of the day, everybody has to take ownership of their own choices, right?
Yeah, right.
I always use the phrase, man, it's your boat. You have to fly it how you want. And um, my choice was to not talk to my family about the things that was going on. I didn't want my kids to know about some of this stuff. I didn't want my wife to see me broken and going through hard times. So I buried it. Um, right or wrong, I'm not saying one way or the other, but in hopes that people that read this book, I hope that maybe if you're wondering what's going on with your significant other, or even wondering what's going on with yourself, um, PTSD is not a veteran thing, man. It's a
No,
human thing.
it's actually a
Um,
real worldwide problem.
yeah, I mean, I've had a British Army soldier on my podcast, and he has a mental health podcast because there's too many British soldiers killing themselves. If that tells you anything, man, that's not just in the States, man. This is not a virus that's airborne, and this is a human problem, and this is how that human deals with trauma. The triggers might be a little bit different, and but the overall depression and PTSD will be the same. What sets you off and how you react to things and choices that you make may be different for each person. But trauma is trauma is trauma. And and if you know somebody that's gone through some trauma, my hopes is that you can read this book and see some early signs and maybe have a conversation to open the doors and give that person the option, because at the end of the day, it's going to come out. I mean, it's going to come out one
You
way or the
know,
other.
absolutely, bro. And you know what I could say, and this is just, kind of my opinion, but I believe that healing, in order for you to healing, sometimes you got to accept things and you got to
First
acknowledge
step.
it,
Yep.
right? And then that way you can actually move forward.
Yeah.
But in order for you to move forward, you have to accept, and sometimes that's a hard part.
It
And that
is.
but I think it's very instrumental to healing. And I see a different person in you since you've been able to write that book, bro. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that was a start for you to be able to start healing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this out so I could give my chance, so I could give me, Donald, a chance at healing,
Yeah.
and I really feel like, man, it was a great thing for you. And I see there's a lot of people wanting the copy of it. So it's great, bro. There's someone out there that's going to read this and you're going to touch their life, and you could probably change it. And
Yeah.
that's the hopes with a lot of us doing the podcast and writing these books and things like that, is to get some of these guys that are getting out,
Yeah.
and don't fucking waste 20 years of your life and your friendships, your families, and all the things that go with it. Don't
Yep.
waste that, right?
It
Like a
like
lot of us have.
you can be, I've been miserable for years because it wasn't just that, I wasn't just miserable after I retired, man.
Yeah.
I was that same miserable guy again, and some of this is in the book too, about how part of me has to keep my mind busy.
Right.
If I don't, depression will definitely sit in. The demons will start talking to me again, and
The
each person,
walls start caving in on you.
yeah, the anxiety comes back, and that is another reason why when I do something, I surround myself by it, and I go all in. Unfortunately, that first experience was in gambling,
Mm.
and I'm really good at math, and again, unfortunately, I was really good at poker, and I got to the point where I was playing.
You get that feeling of winning.
Yeah, and I mean, I was getting sponsored by online casinos. They were
Yeah.
paying my entry fees to get into tournaments and split the winnings 50-50.
Wow.
You know, if I lost, it was on them. If we won, they took their entry fee back and we split the rest. Now we're talking about, when I say entry fees, I'm talking about $2,000 to $3,000 worth of entry fees a week.
Wow. Wow.
You know, one tournament I took second in and won $14,000 for second place.
So you can start feeling good with that kind of shit.
Right.
It
The
starts to,
problem
ooh,
was,
I'm winning.
yeah, I mean, I had I had people coming to me offering to pay me to coach them. There's another thing online. They call them sit and goes. They're just real quick, small tournaments. And these particular ones were called double ups. And I was so good at calculating odds that I was playing 10 games at a time, 10 different tables
Damn, dude.
on a 32-inch screen TV. Right. And every time one game was over, I threw it off the screen and started another one.
No wonder why you're such a good multitasker, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Damn.
I was winning on an average of, I think it was like 58 to 62% of the time at 10
Ugh.
games at a time.
That could
And
really make you fucking feel some kind of way.
yeah, and we're not talking, the highest one was a $100 game.
Oh my
It was
god.
100, a 50, a 25, all the way down to $10 was the cheapest game that I played, you know.
Wow.
And the problem was, again, none of this was positive because I wasn't focusing. This wasn't therapy, man. It was endorphins that was, keeping me happy and keeping me from dealing with the problems. And I would
That
get home.
fool's gold.
Yeah, I would get home, take the BDUs off, sit down, and there was several days that I am not kidding you, that after I got done playing poker, I put PTs on and headed to work and been up all
Wow.
night long,
Holy shit.
you know? My career started suffering, you know? My mental health was definitely suffering, you know? For anybody that knows people that play poker full time, there's a lot of swings. It's not a gradual move. You will have periods where you're winning everything, and then you'll have droughts where you're losing everything.
Yeah, all right.
And it can affect you mentally. And I think I I still do that. Now it's with more positive stuff, but I I feel every moment of my life to the point of when I go to bed that I am exhausted because I don't want to lay there and think while I'm trying to sleep about problems. And I don't know that that's anything uncommon for anybody else. Some fill it with guitars, some fill that with other stuff, you know.
Right.
The only real question you have to ask yourself is are you filling your time with positive stuff or negative stuff, you know? So
Yep.
I think now I'm still doing that same thing, but it's with positive stuff, you know. I drink I've had this six pack in my fridge for 2 weeks now, and this is finally the last one. Um, the bourbon I still have here is from December when I came back home. I brought it home with me from my favorite liquor store in Georgia. So I mean, my drinking is absolutely controlled now. You know,
Nice.
I might have 2 or 3 drinks a week. You know, before I got help, I was drinking 2 or 3 drinks an hour.
Right.
I mean, I was going through a bottle of bourbon every other day,
Damn.
which still ain't as much as others, but it's not healthy. And so all that stuff has changed now, and I'm actually putting the work in to deal with the problem. And I've tried once to get off the meds. Um, I ended up having to go back on them, but I will win that battle one day, man. I will be um, off these medications, and it may have to wait till I'm no longer working, and I may have to go to the psychedelic route, but um, I will be off these antidepressants and all these other things because there's things about them that aren't healthy either.
And it's because, bro, you're speaking it into your life and you want that for yourself. So you're gonna work to get there. You know what I mean? That's the
Absolutely.
thing about being a veteran, being in the military. You have a mission,
Yep.
right? You set yourself a mission and you're gonna accomplish that mission, right? And that's
I
the
agree.
the great thing about it, man. And even though sometimes it probably doesn't feel like you're moving forward and sometimes you're getting pushed back, you're definitely moving forward. And then it's in the right direction at least, man.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the world deserves the best version of everybody, and sometimes it takes us longer to get there, but I think the world needs the best version of everybody. It's
Yeah.
just,
I agree.
we all would be a better place without that.
Look,
Um,
I mean, our country needs it to be good leaders. That's
right,
what we.
absolutely, bro. 100%. Um, with one last great thing going on, we'll talk about
Oh
something
yeah,
that's gonna be right in your neighborhood.
yeah.
And man, I really wish I could make this because of the lineup. the veteran lineup, the musicians that are gonna be here, top notch, top
Well,
notch.
you will make up for it at the one in Nebraska too. So
Oh yeah.
I'll be there. You know, this one is here in Rolla. This is home for me. This is where I'm at, and some amazing artists will be performing. Um, the community is getting behind us, and I think I'm really looking forward to it, man. This is a big deal, and I'm proud that Gunroom Radio is a part of it. Hero Stock is an amazing organization. You know what they are doing is changing people's lives. You know, one
100%.
festival at a time, and now they've grown to 4 events this year. Um, I may sneak down to the Nashville one. I don't know, but I don't know, man. You know, I'm
I
going up.
know, it's like, he made so many now, I'm like, "Damn, I feel like I really wanna go to them." You know, I've never been to Tennessee, so to speak, either, so I've always kinda wanted to go there, and then this one, Rolla, Missouri, I mean, bro, you know I'm a big Derek Stoner fan.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah,
and I love Barbara and I love Shannon. I haven't got a chance to meet JB yet, but he seems like a great human being as well. He's a Marine.
yep.
So, I mean, that speaks volume for itself. But also there's going to be a car show here at this Hero Stock, right?
There it is. Yep. So there'll be a car show there, and then we also have the bands. There'll also be vendors, a bunch of different 501(c)s that will be there, and you'll learn a whole bunch of different great organizations that are out there supporting the community. It is free for veterans, first responders, and their families, and Gold Star families. So if you're a veteran, you get 4 free tickets. If you're a first responder, same thing, 4 free tickets. And if you're not a veteran, man, it's not going to break your bank. It's $10. Um,
And it goes
four
to a good
different.
cause.
Yep, it supports Hero Stock. That's where all the proceeds go. It is going to help put this event on in other locations. It is, like I said, it has grown. There's 21 different states that has requested that they come, and it is getting huge. It's getting some big name attention,
Yeah,
and man, it's been awesome watching it grow. You know, Jason
absolutely.
Steiner is. I'm going to do an article on Hero Stock, so I don't want to give away too much, but in the magazine there will be an article here in June about Hero Stock and how it started and the purpose and all that stuff. So
Well, the great thing is, bro, you and I have been goers of Hero Stock, right? And we actually got to experience the experience.
yeah,
And it got me going to want to go to another one, right? I mean, and I from California to Nebraska, it's not a hop, a skip, and a jump,
no,
So, but I left that vent wanting more, and I left that vent saying, "Damn, this some bitch is already over." Like I didn't even go talk to anybody yet, right?
yeah,
Like it just didn't feel like there was enough time. So, I mean, I love the fact that he's added on an extra day. Um, I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to stand um after adding another day into it. Yeah, the pre-party was outstanding and
yeah,
kicked me a little bit in the shins. Because we all had a great time, right? I mean, we all were meeting for the first time at a house, and gosh, it was just a great time. It was so intimate. We had uh, people like Barbara Sim in there playing the guitar. We had Scotty Hastings playing the guitar.
Taylor,
Everybody was in there, man. And Taylor, it was just a great time. And then,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, we're just blessed with all the different talent and having that intimacy. And then going to the event the next day, it was just it was off the chain, man.
yeah,
Getting to see all the nonprofits highlight themselves and it gets to show us all the different things that are out there I mean, you would be shocked sometimes if you actually went through the list of different nonprofits that are out there. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about skateboarding, reading, shooting, hunting,
Auto
skydiving. What's that?
auto racing.
Auto racing. I mean, dude, you mentioned it. There is basically a community out there,
Yep.
and it that's the other great thing about being in the podcasting world is you get kind of introduced to all these great nonprofits, and you're like, I didn't know there was that out there. I didn't know
Yeah.
there was even that out there. And so these are great ways for us to push all that stuff out there so that way people can grow from it and learn from it and experience what we got to experience. And like I said, man, I think hero stock, it's kind of like it's got different legs to it. It's
It does.
serving multiple purposes, right? It's giving veteran musicians an opportunity to showcase their talent in front of their people, right?
Yeah.
Then it's bringing back that camaraderie again, right? Of that, let's breaking bread and we're cheers and we're hugging, we're drinking some beers and listening to our brothers and sisters up on the stage. And then you got the nonprofits out there that are displaying all the things that they offer out the veterans. So, bro, that event covers a lot of different things and it takes care of a lot of different things. I
Dude,
mean, it
I don't
is an
even know if
amazing event.
I don't even know if Jason knows it. So, I streamed that whole event, 8 hours,
Yeah,
right?
bro.
At one point, a guy walks up to me and starts talking to me, and we're talking. I found out shortly after that he's a senator. A,
Right?
s- a senator came out for the event, you know,
Yeah.
and I was just like, "Holy crap, man!" It's gotten some amazing traction for great reasons because it's a great organization.
And if you're a nonprofit out there, I'll tell you why and how Jason Steiner so he does have a great team that works with him. But him himself is he's a workhorse and he's relentless and he believes so much in his mission.
Yep.
Um and he loves what he's doing. And he travels to where he's got to go. He's got to, he's making the connection he needs to make. He gets on every podcast that exists. And
Yeah.
if you're a podcaster out there, you're not a true podcaster out there unless you had Jason Steiner on your show. Just saying.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, that's the way that you're gonna become a true podcast. You
It'll
gotta
open
have
up the
Steiner
doors.
on. But nevertheless, bro, great event. It's definitely something that you got to go check out if you're around the area. If you're not around the area, um, it's one of those events you don't want to miss, and it makes you feel like you're connected again. You know,
Yep.
for that moment, it's just a great thing.
I agree, man.
But hey, bro, you got any last things that you want to talk about, or any things before we head out?
Yeah, let me throw my plug out there real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you want to support what we're doing, the best way is to subscribe to one of the things that we're doing. The magazine, like I said, it's $25 a year. It's $8 every 3 months. Um, all of that money goes towards building Heroes Voice Media Foundation. Um, if you want to buy my book, you can get copies through wordsfromwarriors.org. You can go there, click on authors, click on Donald Dunn, and you can buy an autographed copy of the book. If you buy the book before the 1st of June, you can get the book and a year's subscription for $35. So, I mean, you can't beat that. And everything's priced, for you to be affordable and for you to enjoy it. So I think the book is $15. That includes shipping. So nobody's getting rich off this, but you're keeping these programs going. You're keeping the radio station alive. You're keeping um, everybody out there doing what they're doing, and we can't do it without funds, unfortunately. But we're still trying to raise the $1,800 for our to file with the IRS and everything else to make the nonprofit official. We're almost there. We're not far, but all of that helps. And again, you're also doing it by supporting the veterans that wrote the magazine, wrote the books. You can buy any of their books as well. On from there, if you send me a receipt showing that you bought one of the veterans' books, you can get the magazine for another 10% off. So everything's about promoting the veterans. I think when you start looking around, you'll see it's not a money racket, man. Everything's designed to support the organization and keep it going, along with subscribing and liking and sharing and telling everybody.
Absolutely. Hey, you know what, brother? I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and all that you do. You are a hell of a leader, bro, and you definitely set the standards for a lot of us. And I appreciate all that you do, bro. I really do.
I
I
appreciate you.
really do, man. But things would never be nowhere near where they are without you. You know,
It's a
so
team, man. It is. It takes everybody.
that's right, man. But you know what? Sometimes it takes that great leader to point and move the vessel where it needs to go. And you're definitely in the right spot. And that's why all these things are going to be successful, man. You know what I mean? We'll be talking back in 2023 when we really kind of started doing things, you know, and we already knew 2024 was going to be a busy year, and it had already taken off, and the growth that you can see it happening.
Yep.
And
Is that what we
this words for warrior thing, bro, I do see this kind of blowing up. There's a lot of readers out there and a lot of people that just like to read
Yeah.
things. So I see that thing doing some great things.
Yeah, and again, man, it's helping veterans. You know, all these guys put their stories on in these books, and until I did it, I did not realize how hard it is. It took me a year and a half easily to get that book done. Um, I have learned since I've started my fiction book that fiction is way easier than telling your own story.
Right?
You know,
You get to use your imagination a little bit more there.
yeah, I tell everybody, man, if you can't find the book on Amazon, it'll be coming to all of the pharmacies. It'll be right next to the melatonin on the shelf.
For Viagra.
Oh man, I hope not.
Oh man. But hey, brother, once again I appreciate you coming on and talking all the things you got going on. Uh
I appreciate
Definitely keep
it,
in
man.
touch, brother, and probably have you on again talking about all the success stories that are going to be going down. But once again, brother, appreciate you, man.
Hopefully next time we'll be talking about when the VMAs are.
Heck yeah. All right, bro. We'll see
All
you
right, man. Later.
later. All right, friends and fam. That's going to wrap it up for another great interview. Mr. Donald Dunn, he's a busy guy. Please go out there, support all the different things going on. I'll be sure to add it all into the description of the show. I'll make sure I have all the links there so you know how to get in touch with all the different things going on. Hey, going and checking these things out, liking them, sharing them out, doesn't cost a thing. And everything is priced to sell. Go check it out, guys. And also, got a website done now. You can go check us out at edasusmcvet.com. Once again, that's edasusmcvet.com. And you can check out all the shows there. We also got a link to all the great nonprofits that are out there. All you got to do is press it and you can go check them out. And if your heart so desires, you can donate to them and help them help the community. But anyways, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. Remember how it goes. Don't let the day kick your ass, but make sure you're out there kicking the day's ass. Until next time. Arr.